Demogorgon is something I had kind of in the back of my mind for quite some time. Even prior to watching the series Stranger Things, I had heard of the Demogorgon and thought, it was a cool looking creature. I didn't know anything about it. I hadn't seen the series. I had no real reason to build it, but, I knew of it. Well, once I finally decided to watch Stranger Things at the insistence of people I know, I found quickly that I wanted to make a Demogorgon now that I knew what it was, and so that is what I did. First episode, I knew of a Demogorgon and knew this is something I want to build. This is something I think that would be really cool for my collection and just, I guess you could say, my project resume. So I don't usually keep track of how many pieces I put into my projects. Generally, there are, well, I don't count that. I don't find a reason to. I mean, when I make the wanted lists, I could look at those totals, but even then, I don't always use every piece I order because maybe there's a change of plans or a different design that I come up with. So I couldn't really tell you how many pieces are in it exactly. I can tell you that I know as far as the teeth go, I initially ordered like 1,100 something, but I didn't end up using all of those. There was a slight change of plans. I think I overestimated. So I don't have any estimates for how many pieces. I'll just say there's a lot of pieces in the Demogorgon head. What techniques did I use when building the Demogorgon head? Quite a few techniques. I primarily followed my normal pattern when I build a bust design, where it's just bricks and many more bricks. But obviously this one I knew for particularly with the mouth, for the flaps, for the petals, as we'll just call them, like a flower. I knew that obviously bricks aren't gonna do that. So I had to do something else. So with the petals, I definitely wanted them to open. I wanted them to be able to I guess, fold. I want it to be able to close. Generally, we see the Demogorgon and it looks in its most iconic state when the mouth is completely open, but I wanted it to have the option of being closed. So I had to employ some many different hinge ideas, and ultimately the one I came up with I think was the right move. So as far as build techniques go, mostly bricks for the main head, and then for the petals and the mouth opening itself is just a lot of hinges, both joints and clips, and then some teeth. So a Demogorgon is a creature that exists in a dark, essentially parallel version of Earth in the Stranger Things universe. They call it the Upside Down because it's a mirror image of the Earth. And the Demogorgon is one of the main creatures. It's definitely the most iconic, I would say, of the series. And it appears in every season in some degree. Season 1 and 4 is its most prominent forms. It does briefly appear in season 3. Season 2, it's a different form. But the Demogorgon is iconic to Stranger Things, and it's, at least in my case, before even watching the series, I knew what it was because it's what I'd seen a lot of. I wanted it to be life-size. That's kind of all my things. I like to make them, life-scale. In the case of the Demogorgon, it was hard to figure out, but I did look at enough. I watched clips again and again and again, and quickly found that as far as the Demogorgon proportion goes, it's tall and lanky, but it's not really big. Its head, for instance, isn't that much bigger than like a human head. So I pretty much just scaled it based on my head, a little bit bigger, and then I added the flaps and teeth and the giant mouth, and I gave it a stand, and I think the size looks about right. Deciding what color to make it was surprisingly difficult. Every time it appears, it seems like a few different colors would be suitable for it. Dark tan, the color that I ultimately chose, is the color that they made the Lego minifigure of the Demogorgon back when they made the Upside Down set, and it didn't look wrong to me. However, watching the series, a light bluish gray also didn't seem particularly incorrect. So it was a matter of it was a back and forth of light bluish gray or dark tan. I ultimately chose the dark tan because I thought it was maybe slightly more accurate. Not to mention it matched the minifig that they made better than light bluish gray would have. So I chose dark tan because it felt more appropriate to me. Unlike the other busts I've made, save for one, I decided not to give the Demogorgon shoulders for a few reasons. The primary reasons, honestly, because I didn't really want to. I figured the head is the most iconic part, and the shoulders, I just didn't really feel like doing, to just be a big block. And they just didn't really seem that interesting to me. And ultimately, I figured, you know what, making it with just the stand might be a little more, well, simpler, and it might be a little more, I guess, flexible, you could say. Instead of the Demogorgon head being stationary on a shoulder, or on a set of shoulders, and having to work around, you know, making sure the mouth can still open properly and all that, the stand just simplified it and eliminated the need for shoulders. It stands up perfectly fine. So compared to my other projects, like pretty much all of them, the Demogorgon didn't take as long to build as they did. What was different about the Demogorgon process compared to the other ones is that I made a full-scale prototype that looked like the finished product, save for it was random colors, whatever I could find, which is something I'd never done before, and it made the process of ordering pieces not as difficult. I mean, I could get an exact piece count for the most part. I did not have enough parts to build each of the flaps, so I was only able to make a couple of little sections. So those I had to estimate, and those are where most of the extra pieces came from, was for the flaps, the pedals. Perhaps the best benefit to building with the prototype model first was that I was able to, after it was done, take apart each layer, take a picture of it, put the next one on top of it, take another picture, and do that for the whole thing. So I was able to give myself instructions. So when I got the proper colors, I was able to follow my pictures and reconstruct it how it was supposed to look.